This is the Louie T Network.
Louie T Live. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to In the Draft Room Live, episode 5, the final episode before the NFL draft tomorrow, or hell, on the East Coast today. So, should be a lot of fun. Got a number of different topics I want to get to tonight. First things first. Wow, that was extra ghetto what I just did on the intro, man. Gotta have my shit together. God damn. Sleep hit me like a ton of bricks earlier today. This live feed was supposed to be like 3 hours ago. And all of a sudden I'm watching tape on one of the prospects that I'm gonna break down here shortly, and boom, I was out like a goddamn light. And so who the hell turned out the lights? That's what I wanted to know. I wake up, it's 11 the damn clock. I'm like, the hell's going on here? So anyway, here we are talking 2017 NFL draft for the final time before the draft. I want to get a couple of house cleaning items out of the way before we talk draft and talk shop tonight. And first things first, I want to thank each and every single one of you out there, newcomers, old heads, everyone that has been supporting the movement in the channel since day one or since whenever you got on board. Thank you. Just hit 6,000 subscribers sometime earlier in the week, and I want to say thank you to everyone. It's got a long way to go, and we're trending in the right direction. This time last year, I was trying to get to 5,000, so I hit 6,000 in less than a year. So again, want to thank everybody out there for making that possible, and we're looking to do bigger and better things in the near future, and I want to see more and more of you guys out there subscribing to the channel, so thank you for that. Next order of business, tomorrow, draft party. Yes, we did this last year. We're going to do it again this year. Going to be a ton of fun. A lot more bells and whistles this year because I have the ability to do a lot more than I did a season ago. So that should be a lot of fun. Draft party coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. sharp on the channel. And yes, I will be on time, goddammit. I know I am tardy all the goddamn time. Always late, but always great. That's not going to be the case for the draft party tomorrow. I will be on time. I will show up promptly at 7:30 to give you that pre-draft feel, kind of get everybody lathered up. Make sure you bring your goddamn snacks and refreshments, man. You know I'm going to have my crack with me, and I'm going to have me a nice cold beverage sitting right here as we chop it up, talk NFL draft. If you have a mock draft for me, okay, you can leave it in the comment section of the mock draft videos I've done previously or this video here. You can send it to me on Twitter, whatever. If I find it, I will put it into the challenge. If I don't, I'm sorry. Put it somewhere where I can find it. I really would love it if I could centralize it. Next year, I probably will. But this year, it's all over the place. People are sending me messages from all over the place. That's fine. I will find it, and I will put it all in one nice, neat package for everyone to view come draft day on the draft party. So make sure you're there. 7:30. We'll get it started. We'll talk about all the big storylines heading into the draft. And of course, 8 o'clock, the first team in the draft, the Cleveland Browns, will be on the clock, open for business. They're still talking nonsense about Adam Schefter won't let it die. Browns are still considering taking Mitchell Trubisky #1 overall. No, they're not. Stop lying to me, okay? Draft time, lie time is over. Okay, you can stop lying. The draft process is done. Okay, the draft is today. You don't have to lie to me anymore. They're not taking Mitchell Trubisky #1 overall. They're taking Myles Garrett. So you can stop with all the nonsense. Now, what that tells me, though, and I believe Adam Schefter, what that tells me, though, is that the Browns really want Mitchell Trubisky. If they're thinking about doing the most idiotic thing we've seen in the draft in the last 20 years, if they're thinking, seriously considering doing something as asinine as taking Mitchell Trubisky over a guy like Myles Garrett, then that tells you they really want Mitchell Trubisky. So I feel good about my trade there are probably going to be a ton of trades in this draft. I just couldn't afford to do that because the last time I went out on a limb and had like 4 or 5 trades, I was wrong. It just jacked up my whole mock. I think with this one trade, I feel good because I think it's a very possible trade. I know Browns fans, some of them don't want to hear that because they don't want to give away picks. They want to be like the Cowboys of the early 90s, late 80s, when Jimmy Johnson executed the most beautiful draft day trade, or I don't know if it was actually on the day of the draft, but the trade of, they call it the Great Train Robbery or the Great Trade Robbery, when he traded Herschel Walker for all those picks to the Minnesota Vikings and ended up pretty much setting the foundation for the team of the 90s with Irvin and Aikman and Emmitt Smith and all of those guys that were drafted, Russell Maryland and all those guys that he got out of that haul. That's what Browns fans want. But remember, in that whole stockpile of picks, there was a quarterback in there. His name was Troy Aikman, and he won 3 Super Bowls. You need that guy. And if you got to give away a couple of picks to make that happen, do what you must do. But you know the rules to the game, then you must play. You don't have a quarterback, you don't have a chance in this league. And if Mr. Trubisky is that guy, if you've identified him as that guy, and you got to come up to say 6 to get in front of the Jets, to do so, by all means, or 5, I think, because the Titans, I believe, are the 5th overall pick, Jets are 6th. If that's what you have to do, by all means, please do what is necessary. So with those things out of the way, I want to talk to you guys tonight about these couple of guys in the draft that have dealt with some issues of late. And then we're going to get to your comments because, again, I want to definitely see what you guys are saying about the draft. So I want to talk about this quickly, and then I'm going to open the floor to you guys because I don't want to take up too much of your time with me rambling. I want to hear from you guys. But I do want to ask you guys about this. If you're a team out there, how do you feel about all of these allegations, all of these diluted test samples, all of these situations with females? We know the NFL is really frowning upon that right now. And look, society frowns upon that, and rightfully so. No male should put their hands on a female. I've already stated my position on that, so I'm not going to go into that whole moral compass right now. But bottom line is, it's so easy for a female to make accusations and claims against a male, and there's really no recourse other than letting the system play itself out for a male. But what if that female isn't telling the truth? I never want to cross that line. I never want to go there because I don't want to make it seem as if the victim isn't a victim, or if the person that is being accused is guilty. So I never want to get into the semantics of that situation. Bottom line is, innocent till proven guilty. That's what our motto has been here in America. And I don't think that is the case when we start to hear these situations come out. And I've always said on my show, since I've been doing this, innocent until proven guilty. So in the case of Joe Mixon, we know he's guilty. We saw the evidence, okay? He's already been slapped on the wrist. He's already had to go through counseling, and he's already been suspended by Oklahoma. I don't think the league is going to do anything, nor should they. So it's amazing. I was talking to someone on Twitter, I want to say a few days ago, and we were talking about the Caleb Brantley situation. And then for those of you who don't know, he's outside of a nightclub. He gets into an altercation with a female. He supposedly pushes her. Somehow she becomes unconscious and knocks one of her teeth out. She now has to have a root canal. I don't know how that whole situation transpires. Generally, people don't get knocked unconscious from being pushed. So either he pushed the hell out of her and she hit her head on something, or he clocked her. Either way, okay? If he got involved in an altercation with a female, and first of all, whether this was a male or a female, why are you putting yourself in a position to get into trouble this close to the draft? Period. Okay? If I'm a rookie, if I'm a prospective NFL draftee, all right, there's no way I'm putting myself anywhere near trouble before I sign my name on the dotted line for an NFL contract. Now, if you want to go to the club to celebrate you signing your contract and you get in trouble, guess what? You've already been paid that signing bonus. At least you can say, all right, I got a job. I've gotten paid some money. We'll see what happens. But don't do anything before then. If you're a potential first round pick and anything comes out, even if it's not true, do you know how much money you could cost yourself on your first contract? Don't do that. If you're Garyon Conley, and again, that situation sounds very sketchy at best, that he raped a female. Now, again, I don't want to get into the whole details of the situation because I don't know. You can only go off of hearsay. I'm not here for that. Bottom line is, why are you putting if you're not my girl, okay, why are you putting yourself in a situation where a female can cry wolf necessarily? And again, he may have done it. He may not have done it. But you don't hear Leonard Fournette's name mentioned in any of this nonsense. Okay, you don't hear Mitchell Trubisky's name in any of this nonsense. Stay away from the nonsense. Pre-draft. Why are you doing anything that could jeopardize your future and future earnings? Why? Garyon Conley, Caleb Brantley, possible first round picks. Reuben Foster. I'm not even going to lump him in with these guys because we're just talking about a diluted sample here with him. Okay? So he's not in the domestic violence thing. I don't want to get into that. I don't want to talk about him hitting a female because he's not in that group. But his situation could be just as bad because with these guys that are into these situations, nothing may come of this. They may be cleared of all wrongdoing. No charges may ever be filed, and they may go on their way. Teams have to do their due diligence now. I think this is one of the few drafts where you can actually say teams have to do their homework. They don't have a choice. These players aren't giving them options because you don't want to miss out on a guy because of a claim like with the Lyle Collins situation. Every team was forced to pass on this guy the entire draft because they didn't know his situation. He messed up his first contract. So now he's got to go out and perform well enough to get another contract that's going to make up for the money he missed out. He was going to be a first-round pick. Went undrafted. So Foster has some issues. Will his issues keep him out of the first round? We're going to see. I doubt it. Just think it's going to have him slide a bit from top. And again, even if you go from top 10 to top 20, let's say you go from the 9th pick in the draft, which is where I have Foster, and I'm not changing my mock. Even though all of this shit is went down with Conley and Foster now coming out, and the teams already knew this. We just didn't, okay? A lot of this stuff teams knew about. Diluted samples, all of that stuff. Teams knew about that stuff way before we did. We just found out about it. With the Foster situation, he may drop from 9, where I had him going to Cincinnati. He may drop from 9 all the way down to, let's say, 21. And I'm just throwing out a number. I don't even know what team is drafting at 21. Let's just go with that premise. If he drops to, say, 21, do you know how much money he just cost himself? We're talking millions and millions of dollars. The difference between the 9th pick in the draft and the 21st pick, look, you're talking the difference of probably $2, $3, $4 million. You're talking about guys that haven't seen money in their life. We're talking about life-changing money. That's what we're talking about here. That's what you cost yourself. Just because of a diluted sample. And his explanation, hey, look, I'm a coach pleaser. I heard a lot of people saying that I needed to put on some weight. I wasn't feeling well, couldn't keep anything down, so I drank a bunch of fluids to try to bulk back up, to try to fill back out my frame. And then I needed to flush out whatever was in my system that was causing me to be sick. So I drank as many fluids as I could, and that's why I had to dilute a sample. Look, that's what he said. I'm just telling you what the man said. Sounds to me like a dude that smoked some weed and needed to get it out of his system, but that's what he said. Jabril Peppers, diluted sample. What are we doing here, folks? What are we doing? Are you serious? You know you're going to be tested at the combine. How could you be so negligent? You know you're getting tested. This is not a surprise. Surprise! Piss in this cup for me. No, you know you about to get tested. So how could you be so foolish as to think you're going to trick the system? You're not the first dude that's done this. Nor will you be the last. You can't stop smoking weed for 3 weeks, a month before the draft? Before the combine, I should say. Really? You think you're going to cheat the system? Just stop smoking weed for a month while you working out. And see these guys, what the misnomer is, oh, I'm working out. I'm sweating. I'm drinking fluids. I'm going to get this shit out of my system because I'm not an average person. They're not a you or me who's walking around not training heavily and sweating all the time. You think you're going to get that stuff out of your system relatively quickly, which most guys do. But don't put yourself in that predicament, man. Don't do it. Now, if you were on the fence about Jabril Peppers and you hear this diluted sample, you're like, man, F Jabril Peppers in the first round. I've already said he's not a first round pick for me. And I didn't put him in the first round in my mock draft. This further drives that point home. What about Jordan Lewis? Everyone's forgotten about that. Maybe because he's not a first round pick. But Jordan Lewis had an issue with a female, dragging her. And this was a domestic situation. In the driveway. True or not, it looks bad. Teams have to do more homework. They get scared. Unreal. I've never seen this many potential first round draft picks have this many issues pre-draft. Peppers, diluted sample. Foster, got sent home from the combine and diluted sample. Mixon, we all know his situation. Don't need to elaborate on that. Jordan Lewis, domestic violence incident. Brantley, female, potentially getting involved in an altercation with a female where he laid hands on her. Potentially, don't know. Again, I'm not here to crucify anybody. I'm not here to say that anyone is guilty before proven that way. And then finally, Garyon Conley. Potential rape allegations. Look, too close to the draft for this nonsense. For all of these players. 1 month away. And you know what's crazy? I was having that discussion with one of the viewers on Twitter. And he said, it's amazing how timing is everything. And I said, that's life. Timing is everything in life. He said, it's amazing how all of these guys are getting into it and they may fall and Mixon may be drafted before him. And it's possible. Because Mixon's happened so long ago, he's had time to show that he's reformed. These guys just did this. Unbelievable. I want to open up the floor to you guys. I want to hear what you guys have to say, whether it's on this topic, an issue, or you just want to talk about the draft in general, whatever. What's really good, man? Y'all tell me. We're looking at about 20 hours away from the draft. Y'all tell me what's really good.
Let me ask you a question.
What's really good?
Only thing we really want to know right now is what's really good.
What's really good, huh?
But the question for y'all, what's really good?
I have no further questions.
All right. Let's get to some of y'all comments, man. Let me see what y'all talking about. My man Reese says, happy draft day. Happy draft day, everybody, man. What's going on, Reese? Happy draft day. Appreciate that, man. Been a long time coming. I got your mock, AK. I got your mock. Let's see. BE says he'll have his mock in tomorrow. All right, that's cool. Reed says, heard the Bucks are thinking about trading down. I'm all for that. Then I heard they could completely trade out of the first round. I'll be pissed. You know how that goes, Reed. The Kansas City Chiefs, as a matter of fact, did it last year where they just said, you know what? We don't see the value in our pick right now, and another team wants it. The 49ers wanted to come up and take the guard out of Stanford last year, and so they allowed them to come and do that. And, you know, sometimes there's more benefit in trading out of the first round than taking a player. And but the difference there was the Chiefs were right around like the 27, 28 range when they did that, whereas you're in like the 21st position, if I'm not mistaken, something in that general vicinity, 21, 19. I think you're 19th, if I'm not mistaken. So that'd be a long way out of the first round. But again, to move that far out of the first round, that would mean you guys would be getting some great compensation for that pick. So we'll see what happens. Always remember, in situations where you're talking trades, the board is gonna determine what happens with a trade happening or not happening. Reed also says, did you see Mike Mayock's mock? He had Malik Hooker falling to 19 at the Bucks. Doubtful if you ask me, but I do backflips. I've been seeing him drop down some people's board, and maybe we over evaluated him. And when Mike Mayock does a mock, he's similar to me. He only does one mock. When he comes out, I start to question some of the decisions I make because he's talking to these teams. You know, these insiders, you know, you don't believe everything they say, but they're talking to some of these teams. But some teams are questioning his ability to tackle. Other teams are questioning the shoulder injury that he had. But bottom line is, I don't see this guy dropping that far either, Reed. I'm with you. I think he's going to be a top 10 pick. If he falls out of the top 10, I can't see him getting past the Redskins at 17. And so I don't see it. I don't see him getting to the Bucks at 19. But again, this is the thing. And I say this every year, and I always laugh and chuckle when I say it because it's the truth. If you listen to everyone during draft, there's going to be 200 first-round draft picks. There are going to be 200 first-rounders. Everybody's a first-round. Davis Webb is a first-round pick. Caleb Brantley's a first-round pick. Malik McDowell's a first-round pick. TJ Watt's a first-round pick. Alvin Kamara is a first-round pick. Everyone's a first-round pick for everybody, goddammit. Everyone's not going to be a first-round pick, man. So guys are going to fall. Guys that we thought were going to go in the top 5, top 10, top 50, they're going to fall. At least 2 guys that are prominent. Like everybody's killing me for O.J. Howard falling in my mock draft. That's fine. He might go in the top 5. He might go in the top 10. It would not shock me if Buffalo took him at 9. If the Jets took him at 6 because they don't get Mitchell Trubisky. It would not shock me if O.J. Howard went in the first 5 to 10 picks. But it wouldn't shock me if he dropped all the way to 18 where I have him going to the Tennessee Titans. Wouldn't shock me. Because people have to fall. Everyone can't go. And don't think for 1 second that these quarterbacks aren't going to be overdrafted. It happens every year. We sit here and we talk, these quarterbacks aren't that good. Okay, fine. Teams are still going to take them. They need quarterbacks. So don't sit here on your high horse and talk to me about, these quarterbacks don't deserve to go in the first. Doesn't matter what we think. Teams need quarterbacks. So they're going to spend the resources to do so. Guys are going to fall. And maybe Malik Hooker falling to the Bucks at 19 is very plausible. We'll see. Ree also says, I can see Doug Martin being traded tomorrow or Friday. You think so? Absolutely. Especially if they get their hands on him back. If what I have them doing comes to fruition, which I have them taking Dalvin Cook at 19 out of Florida State, he's gone. I think they're ready to move on from him anyway. Whether they get him back in day 1 or they get him back in day 2, he's gone to me. I don't think Doug Martin's going to be a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when the season, when we even get to training camp. I don't think he's going to be a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So we'll see what happens. Reese says, we had a blast last year on the draft party, and I intend on having a blast this year as well with all of you guys out there. It was a lot of fun last year, so I'm looking forward to doing that again. Make sure you guys join me again here on the channel for the 2017 NFL Draft Party, hosted by yours truly, as we watch the draft and react to the picks real-time live together with one another. Bossaholic says, are you going to do a live stream of the draft? I just answered that question already. Captain Spartan 04 says, remember when the Buccaneers traded up to get a kicker in the second round? Why do you have to do that to Ree? Okay, Ree's a good guy. Leave him alone. We already killed him last year. No need in doing that. Ree says, Lou, I watched tape on Chris Godwin today. What a stud. No real flaws in his game, if you ask me. He's a Penn State wide receiver, though. Like, I can't get too excited about that. And I know that's not fair to Chris Godwin, but I'm sorry. And really, you're right. He's pretty clean. He's fast. He can jump. He's athletic. He can catch. But he went to Penn State. And you say, don't really know if that's a good thing. Just like any offensive player that comes out of the Big 12, like, I knock you for that. You play against Texas Tech and you have 8 touchdowns in that game. That's impressive, but it was against Texas Tech. You play in the Big 12. I can't get excited about that. Nobody plays defense in the Big 12. And usually, great offensive players don't come out of the Big 10. And I know that sounds crazy, but again, it's rare that a great offensive wide receiver, for that matter, comes out of... When's the last time we saw a stud at the receiver position come out of the Big 10? What was it, Braylon Edwards out of Michigan? I'm trying to think, because you think Ohio State. When's the last time they had a great receiver? I don't know. I could be, and again, usually when I say that, it was the last year. But I guess Michael Thomas was pretty good for the Saints last year, right? Right. So generally speaking, let me just say what I just said. Let me preface what I said with this. Generally speaking, the Big Ten is not a team that a conference I go to for skill position guys, generally speaking. All right. But there are some intriguing guys this year, like a Chris Godwin, like a Curtis Samuel from Ohio State. There are some intriguing guys in there, but generally speaking, Ezekiel Elliott's don't come along very often out of the Big Ten. So we'll see what happens there. But anyway, Mr. T Money 1993 says, I have a feeling deep in my bones Myles Garrett is going to be a bust. I don't think that's going to be the case. Will he live up to the hype? It's so hard to live up to the hype. It's the same thing with Mario Williams. Would you call Super Mario a bust? No, he wasn't a bust. But did he live up to the hype of what everyone blew him up to be as the number 1 overall pick in that draft? Remember, that was the Reggie Bush draft. Okay, remember that was the Reginald Bush draft. Vince Young was in that draft, if I'm not mistaken. That was a really highly touted draft. And the guy that came off the board first was Super Mario. He was a really good football player. Was he the guy that we thought was going to transcend the defensive end position? No. But, I mean, this is what we do. We hype guys up. We make them larger than life. And now he has to go out and try to live up to the expectations. I think he's going to be a good football player. I don't think he's going to be a bust. Bust, do you understand what you're saying when you say the word bust? When you use the B word? Do you understand what you're saying? You're saying that this man's going to be Ryan Leaf. He's going to be out of the league in 5 years. You're saying this man's going to be Trent Richardson. You understand what you're saying when you use the B word? Like, really think about what you just said. Because that's a really harsh accusation. When you say, I think that man's going to be a bust. That's a strong statement you're making. Vincent Cole says, hey, man, what do you think of the chance that Forrest Lamp slides to the 26th pick for the Hawks? It's possible. I told you, draft day, everything's on the table. And I told you, players are going to slide. And in a draft that is so heavy, with so many different positional players, with talent, especially on the defensive side of football, this is the thing. at a position like guard or in the offensive line in general in this draft, there aren't many. So I think guys like Lamp are going to be coveted because you can't wait like you can for a corner. You know, and I hate that line of thinking, well, this is a deep draft, so we can wait. I've heard so many people tell me that, well, we need to take O.J. Howard because we can't wait on tight end, but we can wait on corner. If this is the guy you like, and I'm going to just throw a name out there, if Marlon Humphrey is the guy you like, why would you wait? Because there are other corners you can get later on in the draft, but you got to get X player now? No, take Marlon Humphrey, figure out the other stuff later. Like, don't push off corner because there's corners in this draft for days. Because those other corners aren't slated as first-round corners for a reason. There are flaws in their game. There are reasons why. So, a guy like Lamp, I don't see him sliding to 26, but it's possible. Absolutely. I told you, they're going to be players that you thought were going to go here, and they went way down here. Remember last year? Guys were getting drafted in the first round. Like, how the hell did he get in the first round? Remember when the Buccaneers took Butler, who we thought could be a fringe first-round pick, but we weren't sure? Remember when the Packers took Kenny Clark out of UCLA and we were all scratching our head like, huh? Like, these things happen. There will probably be one or two of those guys. Guys that I don't think should be anywhere near the first round. Some team's going to take him, like a Charles Harris. He's not a first-round football player, period. Someone's going to take him in the first round. Potentially. That kind of thing happens every year. Every year. So, we'll see. Vincent Coe says, haha, you also did a party for day 2 and 3 last season. Is it going to be the same? Yep, I'll be live. And I'm glad you brought that up because that's negligent on my part to not bring that up. I'll be live on day 1. And guess what? It's so nice. I'm going to do it twice and come back and do it again for day 2 in the draft. Now, day 3, I wasn't actually live for the whole thing. I actually kind of came back and tied the whole draft together. I think I came back later on in day 3 and kind of talked about some of the picks that were big-time picks in day 3, some of the players that we've been talking about throughout the process that finally came off the board and where they ended up. Talked about some of the drafts that I thought were really strong. I'll probably do that again for day 3 as well. But definitely doing another draft party for day 2 like I did last year. We'll be here watching the picks live for the 2nd and 3rd round, and we'll sit here and discuss those picks. So come back to me for day 2 of the draft. If you're here for day 1 and you can't get enough and you want more, hey, I'll be here. Day 2 of the draft as well. So you know my draft coverage is long and extensive and very intense. So I'm going to be here. Wall-to-wall coverage. When I tell you wall-to-wall, I mean wall-to-wall coverage of the 2017 NFL Draft. Thanks for that, Vincent Coe. I needed that. Captain Sparta 4 says, can someone tell me where Sidney Jones is probably going? He's going to go in the 2nd round. He's not coming off the board in the 1st round. And I'm going to talk about all this stuff tomorrow. That pre-draft show at 7:30 to get us kind of lathered up for the draft. We're going to talk about all these guys, the guys that are injured that we don't know about, some of these guys that have some issues off the field potentially now with these allegations. We're going to talk about all that stuff to kind of head into the draft and give us a little bit of direction as to what could and probably most likely will happen in the 2017 NFL Draft. Reese says, I'm putting you on the spot. Go with your gut. How many quarterbacks go tomorrow? I told you 4. I'm adamant about 4. I'm not moving off my number. I told you 4 quarterbacks are going in the 1st round tomorrow. And I've listed those quarterbacks. I'm not moving from my mock draft, okay? I call it my mock of integrity. I'm not a 2.0, 4.0, 6.0, 9.0, 18.0 guy, okay? You get 1 and 1 mock only. I don't do pre-combine, post-combine, post-pro day. I don't do all of that stuff. That's not me. You know what you get out of me. I'm like Mike Mayock. You get one mock out of me, and that's it. So there you have it. 4 quarterbacks going in the first round, Ree. Said it then. I said it now. I mean it then. I meant it then. I mean it now. 4 quarterbacks, first round. First name, last name says, who could the Vikings get? Could the Vikings get Peppers with the 48th pick? After the diluted sample, and again, it's all up to these teams to do their homework and start probing on these guys and figuring out what these guys are all about. With a guy like Peppers, who I didn't see as a first-round pick anyway, it's very possible that the Vikings could get him in the second round. I don't see him sliding that far in the second round, though. Like, when I said he's not a first-round pick, I meant he was a fringe first-round, early second-round guy. Like, these guys like Peppers, you don't get him in the first round, that's fine. He'll be around in the 30s. I don't see him getting out of the 30s, though. Like, someone's going to snatch him up. He's too good of an athlete. He brings too much to the table to let him slide into the 40s. And even with the diluted sample, doesn't mean he failed the test. It just means he was trying to mask and hide something. And what that was, I don't know. It could have been Adderall for all I know. Who at the end of the day, bottom line is, some team's going to take this kid, and it's either going to be late first round, early second round. I don't see him getting to the midpoint of the second round, though. So if I had to guess, I'd say no way Vikings get their hands on Peppers at 48. That's too far. You want him, you're going to have to come up and get him. Reese says, I don't understand these players resorting to violence at all, regardless of gender. When is violence ever the answer? And that's what I'm saying. It's like some of these guys get this elevated sense of self. Their egos are through the roof. And a lot of us, we're to blame, okay? Not necessarily you individually, me individually, but just society as a whole. We put these guys on a pedestal. You want their autograph. Like if I saw Adrian Peterson right now, I'd say what's up to him, but I'm not running up, oh my God, you're Adrian Peterson, can I have your autograph? Let the little kids do that, who don't know any better. Let the 7-year-old kid who one day can look back and say, I got Adrian Peterson's autograph. Like, you should never be the guy in the front row of a Panthers game running over a little kid trying to get the football from Cam Newton or one of the players that's giving it away. Don't be that guy. You're too old for that. We put these guys on a pedestal, tell them how great they are. They've been told that they're great since they're like 7 years old. When they start traveling and playing AAU football and basketball and start playing with all these teams and going to all these camps, we start telling these guys they're the best thing since sliced bread. You gotta kiss their ass to get them to come to your university. So you're telling them how great they are. They don't have a sense of being able to have that humble mentality that, hey, I'm just another guy out here trying to make a buck. Not when everybody's been telling them how great they are since they were 7, and nobody's told them the word no since they've been 12. It's hard. So when you go to the party and that female says no, what do you mean no? I'm Louie T. You don't tell me no. You better bring your ass over here. And that's how shit happens. Because they think they can't be told the word no. When you don't hear it enough, you don't know how to react to it. They get embarrassed because they're around their peers and they're not used to being told no. And then all of a sudden someone says, nah, it's not going down. And he looks around and all his boys are like, oh, who you gonna let him talk to you like that? That ego, that inflated sense of self kicks in. And now they gotta be the man. That's that bullshit that's going to get you in trouble. And so I wish I could sit these guys down and talk to their ass. And it's not like people haven't tried. That's what the rookie symposium is all about. Veterans of the league coming back and talking about their misfortunes and things that they did and mistakes that they made in hopes that these young boys don't make the same mistake. And a lot of times it goes right in one ear, out the other goddamn ear. It's unfortunate. Vincent Coe says, can you pick your pick that you think might be a draft bust from the prospects this year? One on the offensive and one on the defensive side, please. I hate bust. I hate the word bust because I like giving everybody a chance. But It's all in what you consider. This is the thing. Every single player selected, it's a crapshoot. Nobody's a sure thing. You'd like to think that the guys in the top 5, top 10 of the draft are sure things. Nobody's a sure thing. It's subjective. A bust. How do you define what a bust is? Because normally, in order for you to justify something, there's actual tangible proof that lends that situation to believe to be a bust. Like, let's go with an album that that a artist produced musically. How do we know that album flopped? Well, how much money did they spend producing that album, mass producing that album? How much money did they spend on advertising? And how much money did they recoup from album sales? That's how you know if that album flopped. How do you know that a movie flopped in the box office? Well, how much money did you spend? What was your budget for the movie? If you spent $5 million to create the movie, but you only made $3 million in gross revenue off the movie, it was a flop. It was a bust of a movie. How do we actually figure out what's a bust in the NFL? I mean, you can look at a player and say that guy's a bust. I can say, man, he was a productive NFL player. Probably didn't live up to all of the hype that we thought he would be, but he was a solid NFL player. Like, I look at Brian Orakpo. I'll give you an example. And I don't want to get too far off topic, but I'm a Redskin fan. We drafted Brian Orakpo in the first round. Was he a bust for the Redskins? Some people might say yes. I say no. He was a productive player, but he was never the guy that we thought he was going to be. Does that mean he's a bust? Not to me, but for some, maybe he does. But let me get back to my point, though. Bottom line is, I hate doing that. I hate projecting that on someone. There are some players that I'm not as high on as everyone else. I can give you those guys, but I refuse to call anybody a bust right now. But I'll give you an offensive player that I'm not that high on, that everybody else is really high on, and then I'll give you a defensive player. I'm not that high on Cam Robinson. I told you that already. If he doesn't make the transition to guard right away, if someone tries to put him out at tackle, I think he's going to struggle. I'm not a Cam Robinson fan. I don't think he's all that good. I've watched guys shred him in the SEC. I watched Derek Barnett the other day take him to school. I'm not a Cam Robinson fan. He's too inconsistent. He's got all the athleticism and tools necessary. I just look at him as another Greg Robinson. And even though they played in vastly different systems where Robinson didn't play in the pro-style offense, had a tough time transitioning to an NFL pro-style offense, whereas Robinson played in a pro-style offense at Alabama, I don't care. I just don't like him as a big-time prospect. That being said, you go to the defensive side of the football, and there are a few guys that I'm kind of sketchy on. I'm looking at them, and I'm like, I don't know if I necessarily see what everyone else sees. There are a few, but I've said this before. I'll say it again. He's shooting up draft boards. I think he's okay. But look, I don't want to beat him up because he doesn't like to tackle, but Kevin King is okay for me. He's not the next best thing since sliced bread, as a lot of people are making him out to be. There are a couple of defensive linemen that I'm not all that enamored with. Caleb Brantley, for me, I know a lot of people think this guy's a first round. I'm not blown away by Caleb Brantley. I'm just not. I don't think he's all that good. I've actually heard people compare him to Aaron Donald. Are you smoking crack? Whatever you're on, let me get some of that. I'm not going to take it, but I might sell it because it's some good shit. Because he is not Aaron Donald, okay? Aaron Donald was bagging quarterbacks at a double-digit rate at Pitt, all right? Aaron Donald was a first-rate disruptor, and oh, by the way, Aaron Donald ran like a 4.56 at the combine. What are we talking about here, folks? Caleb Brantley is not even close, remotely close to Aaron Donald. Don't put that man's name in the same sentence with Aaron Donald. Don't do that. Not fair to Aaron Donald. By the way, never, ever trust a man with two first names. Don't do that. All right. Slump says, Reuben Foster seems like an idiot. I don't call names. I'm not going to call him a name. He has a daughter. I like that he has a daughter. That usually means you have to be more responsible because it's not about you anymore. It's about someone else that you have to take care of. That being said, he's made some foolish decisions over the last couple of months that have you questioning whether this guy gets it or not. The combine blow up, you can't do that. It looks bad, but he was able to overcome that. Then the diluted sample and you're saying, come on, guy, what are you doing? So he's leaving a lot to be desired right now, but I'm not going to crucify him. I'm not going to do that. Reed says, think we'll see another Laramie Tunsil tomorrow? It's possible. People are so vicious. That situation showed me yesterday or last year just how petty people can be. Someone was really willing to try and derail this man's life. Because football is his life. It's his career. It's the way he wants to make money and make a living. Someone was willing. They had that much hatred in their heart that they were willing to try and derail this man's dreams and take money out of his pocket. That shit is crazy to me. Like, you cannot like me, but to go to that extent to try to hurt me, and they hurt him because he was going to be a top 5 pick. He went from top 5 out of the top 10 to 13. So that's a huge drop. I just talked about how much money it's going to cost a player like Garyon Conley, who might have went in the top 10, who might have went in the top 15. He might lose millions of dollars, even if he still goes in the first round pick, in the first round. Same with Reuben Foster. You're talking about millions of dollars if a guy was going to go top 10 and now he falls to the teens or the 20s. That's insane to me that someone could be that malicious in attacking somebody to the point where they're going to come after their livelihood. But people do things like that. It's just amazing to me. I don't think we're going to see a situation where something comes out literally hours before the draft, but we could see some guys fall in the draft like Laramie Tunsil where, look, I think Garyon Conley did it the right way. I'm not coming to the draft. So you could put the camera on me after every pick and show me sweating because I'm not getting selected because I'm falling down draft boards. I can sit my ass at home around people I love and allow my precipitous fall to take place without me being under the bright lights of the camera. I don't need that. So I think he's doing the right thing by not coming to the draft. Reed says, I'll never forget your reaction to us taking Aguayo, Lou. Priceless, classic stuff. Yeah. Maybe we'll get one or two of those this year where I'll just go bananas. We'll see what happens. The draft always produces those types of moments. Mr. T Money 1993 says, only good thing about dropping out of the first is you get that second contract faster with no fifth-year option. That's a good point. And I've talked about that. It works both ways. That's why teams always make sure they get a quarterback in the first round because you want that extra year to evaluate. That's why the Vikings traded up into the first round to get Teddy Bridgewater. Now, reports are they're not going to pick up his fifth-year option. You know, this injury changed everything, but that's why you do that. You do those types of things because you want that extra year. And for certain teams, you're like, hey, we want to get to that second contract faster. No player is going to ever say that. You know, agents think that way. Yeah, it'd be great if this player didn't go in the first round because if he's good, if he's as good as we think he's going to be, he'll get to his second contract faster. But most guys and most agents will say, look, man, I want you to go in the first round because there's more money in my pocket, more money in your pocket. But, you know, it goes both ways. It goes both ways for the team and the player. You know, for the team, they want that fifth-year option. They prefer that, but everybody's not getting that fifth year because everybody's not going to be a first-round pick. For the player, you want to be a first-round pick. You want to be off the board after day one. You want to make as much money as you can in that first contract. Same thing being said, though, you want to get to that second contract because the sooner you get to the second contract, that means the sooner you're going to get to the third contract. You know, you want to get everybody wants to be Darrelle Revis. You want as many contracts as you want to rip up as many contracts and get new ones because that's new money. Every time you sign a new deal, it's new money. So you want to get as many contracts as possible. And the clock starts after that first contract. And if you're a second round pick, your third round pick, 4 years, no fifth year option, and boom, you're back in there, going back to the table, looking for seconds. And that's what, at the end of the day, most players are looking to do. Great point. Reese says, these prospects are just kids. Kids do dumb things. You're right, but at some point you got to grow the hell up, Ree. I mean, you can call them kids up until the point that you start giving them millions upon millions of dollars. You're not a kid anymore. Back in the day when you were young, you're not a kid anymore, but some days you sit and wish you were a kid again. You ain't a kid no more once you stroke that check, once these owners stroke these checks, because you about to pay this guy. You are investing in these young men. They're not kids, they're young men. That's why that broke documentary, that 30 for 30 broke. If you've never seen it, you need to watch it. It is enlightening and eye-opening. You're giving a 21, a 22-year-old millions of dollars. In most cases, they've never had money in their life, and you're asking them to be responsible. It's a lot. It's a lot. And if you don't have the right people around you, it's tough. All right. Reese says, think Curtis Samuel will pleasantly surprise someone, Lou. Great all-around player. He just strikes me as a Percival Harvin. One of these guys doesn't really have a position. I don't think he's ever going to be great at one position. He's more of a running back to me than a receiver. But I don't think he's going to make his living as a running back. For me, guys like him are intriguing, but at the same time, they're an enigma because you just don't know what to do with them. And for me, what I hope he actually turns into is like a great third down back with the ability to get some first down and second down touches that can help you in the returns game, and you can do multiple things with him. I just hope he becomes a Swiss Army knife, like a Danny Woodhead type, one of those kind of guys, like a Reggie Bush early in his career. You want him to be one of those types of guys. We'll see what happens with him, but those kind of guys are just hard. And that's why nobody's talking. It's funny because I've had someone bring him up every week I've been on this show. We've done an episode. Someone brings up Curtis Samuel and wants to know why he's not being talked about more. That's why right there, you don't have a position. It's hard to put this guy somewhere. He's one of those guys you can't put in a box because he does so many different things, but he doesn't do any of them great. Pam Mon, okay? Proficient at many, master of none. And when you have guys like that, he's a great athlete. But when you have guys like that, because he's not big enough to be an NFL running back, but he's not proficient enough as a receiver to be an everyday wide receiver. Just like Percival Harvin, when he tried to make the switch to just full-time receiver, he was okay. But he was like Tavon Austin. You're not really worried about him as a receiver as much as, and I think that's probably a better comp for Curtis Samuel, is a guy like Tavon Austin. Put him in the backfield, you put him in the slot, you have him do a number of gadgety things, jet sweeps, things of that nature. Just try to get the ball in his hands. Hope that he can make some plays for you. All right. See what else we got. See what we got. Boy, it's a lot of comments. I'm not getting to all of them. Matter of fact, we only got 5 minutes left. Slump says the Chargers are going to screw up and select McCaffrey. No, they're not. No way. They just took a back 3 years ago. BE says Cardinals get Mahomes in the first and Sidney Jones in the second round. I am steadfast in my thought process that the Cardinals are taking Patrick Mahomes in the first round, and you can't get me off of that. Until the Cardinals turn in their card, and with the 13th pick in the NFL draft, the Arizona Cardinals select is a different name than Patrick Mahomes, they're taking Patrick Mahomes. I don't think anybody's taking him before them. I think he's going to the Cardinals at 13. That's just my opinion. Will they get Sidney Jones in the second round? That's intriguing. We'll see if he's around in the second round when they're on the board. I think they're on the board in the second round, pick 45, 44, somewhere in there. He could be there. I see him as this year's the linebacker from Notre Dame that the Cowboys took last year. Remember, he went like the first 2 or 3 picks in the second round. He was off the board. Cowboys took him. I could see Sidney Jones being that this year's linebacker from Notre Dame. I can't think of his name right now. John Niner says, Jamal Adams, best player in the draft. Pound for pound, I don't know. I think he's up there. If you're talking about best players in this draft, he's up there, no doubt. I don't know if I would say he was the best, though. Rocksteady 1974, the great, says, who you think our skin's going to take? I already told you who I think we're going to take. I'm still, and I'm probably wrong, because with the Reuben Foster news, I think someone's going to reach up and snag Hassan Reddick now. So I think that we're probably going to have to go in a different direction. I hope we don't take a running back. More and more likely that we do take a running back, though. And that frustrates me because we can get – I already said what I want. You know, if you watch my Redskin videos, you know what my dream scenario is for the Redskins. I don't want a running back in the first round just because we need help defensively. And I feel like this draft is deep enough to where we can get a running back later on. If we take a back, I'm not going to be upset. I'm not going to be upset because the way I look at it, as long as we don't take a player like Caleb Brantley in the first round, I'm fine. I really am. Because there are too many good football players that are going to be around at 17 for me to be upset with who we select. As long as we don't take a guy that I'm like, really? This guy's not a first-round pick? We shouldn't be picking him at 17. I'm going to be fine. Whether it's an offensive player, defensive player, I'm going to be fine either way. Captain Spartan, let me say this. What last year taught me is to not be all in on one guy. Because remember, I wanted Andrew Billings in the first round last year. And I got a pleasant surprise now because I still think Josh Doxson is going to be a hell of a football player. And we got Doxson there. He was my favorite receiver in the draft. So it was a pleasant surprise, but I wanted Billings. That guy didn't go off the board to the 4th round to the Cincinnati Bengals. And he didn't even play last year because he got injured. But I'm not doing that this year. I'm going to be open-minded, and I want to see what happens. But Captain Spartan 04 says, I'm looking at these potential draft Christmas presents, and I don't like the shape of them. When I shake it, it sounds like it's already been broken, talking Carl Lawson and Trey White. That's a great analogy. No, look, man. You're going to get a good football player. I already told you what I think you're going to do. But if you don't go quarterback, I think you're going to go corner. Or you're going to go pass rusher. You're on the right. You're sniffing around the right position. Now, do you have the right players? We're going to see. But one thing's for sure, Carl Lawson is not going in the first round. You don't have to worry about you guys reaching for Lawson in the first round. He's not going in the first round. We'll see what happens, though, man. I'm going to tell you what. He might be better than Tack McKinley. So take it for what it's worth in any event. He's more of a pure pass rusher than Tack McKinley, who might go in the first round. So we'll see. Slump says, people will be shocked with potential 7th round pick Mac Hollins. His hands aren't great, but I truly think he will be a stud. He's big, he's long, but we'll see what happens with Mac Hollins, man. Mr. T Money 1993 says, Allen Robinson is good, and didn't he go to Penn State? Yeah, he did. And I told you I do that all the time. But Allen Robinson is inconsistent as well. And that's my problem. Like, you don't get like AJ Green type studs out of the Big Ten. Like, generally that doesn't happen. You get those guys out of the SEC or the ACC, but the Big Ten doesn't produce. Like, Allen Robinson's really good. Allen Robinson will drop the football. He will make the greatest catch you've ever seen in your life. 2 plays later, he'll drop the goddamn football. And that's Allen Robinson. And that's why he's so frustrating, but he's a good football player. You're right. Andrew Kim says, Ravens seem to be high on Corey Davis. I hope this isn't a smoke screen and he's there at 16. Damn, I want him. He'll be there at 16. Question is, will you guys take him? I think you're going to take him. I mocked you, Corey Davis, to the Ravens at 16. I'm going with that. Him not working out is going to scare some teams away, and I think he'll be there for you at 16. Protect428 says, you ready for the draft? You damn right I am. John Niner says, will Solomon Thomas be a bust? No, he won't be a bust. Will he be as good as his draft status suggests? Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. It all depends on system fit and how this man is used. If he's utilized correctly, he can be a stud. If he's put in a position where he's not comfortable, you can see him struggle. And I tell you that about these prospects every year. It's more about fit and coaching than anything else. All of these guys can play football. But where do they end up, how well are they coached, and how good of a position are they put in to succeed is really going to determine how good of a pro they end up being. You know, sometimes guys are better after their first contract in a different location because that first place just didn't work for them. Devontae Thompson says, who do you think going to the Cowboys at the 28th pick, or do you think we trade out of it? The Cowboys I think they're going to take a defensive player, and I think it's either going to be a pass rusher or a corner, one of the two. I don't see them going safety. I think they're going to lay off of the safety position until a little bit later on in the draft. I think they're going to go corner or they're going to go pass rusher. Now, the board is going to dictate who's there. I already gave you my opinion. I told you I think they're going to go with Marlon Humphrey out of Alabama. That's what I'm sticking with. I told you I'm not veering away from my mock draft. So if you've seen my mock draft, then you know who I think the Cowboys are going to take. But it wouldn't shock me if they went T.J. Watt. I don't think he's a first-round pick, but he is inching into the first round. It wouldn't shock me if the Packers took T.J. Watt. It could happen. Cowboys, Packers, somewhere in there, I can see T.J. Watt coming off the board. So wouldn't shock me at all if that's what the Cowboys decided to do. Reese says, Mayock didn't have Buda Baker in the first round. He's nuts. But then you're calling me nuts. I didn't have Buda Baker in the first round either. Like I said, I don't think these safeties are going to come off the board. I think the first two are coming off the board in the first round. And then everybody else at the safety position, I think they're going to have to wait. Because quarterbacks are going to get pushed up. Because offensive line is going to get pushed up. There are not a lot of good offensive tackles. And Forrest Lamp is the one short thing at guard. They're going to get pushed up. You want an elite receiver, you better get yours now. So those are going to get pushed up. Cornerback, I think there's going to be a little bit of a mini run on corner. So you're going to see maybe 5, upwards of 6 corners in the first round. Everybody can't be a first-round pick, Reed. Everybody can't be a first-round pick. So that's how I feel about that. And that's going to do it, man. I went over my hour time limit anyway. But look, man, we're going to do this thing tomorrow. We're going to have a blast. 7:30, come back here to Louie T Network, and we're going to chop it up. We're going to talk NFL draft. We're going to get ready for the draft, and then we're going to sit down. Bring your refreshments, man. It's a party. It's party time. Oh, it's party time. And we having a party. So make sure you come equipped with the necessary requirements to have a party, man. I'm going to have my snacks. I'm going to have my beverage. I'm going to be right here. TV's right there. You right there. And we're going to chop it up and we're going to have ourselves a party. 2017 NFL Draft Party here live on the Louie T Network. I thank you guys for joining me throughout this whole entire process. I'm going to try to get some more of these draft prospect one-on-one breakdowns out before the draft. I may even do some post-draft as well to put myself in a better position when I start doing these draft breakdowns, draft wrap-up series breakdowns. So in any event, thank you for joining me on the program. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie T Network. I will see you today, not tomorrow, today. And then the day after that, come back and join me. Draft party, 7:30, live here tomorrow, today. See you then.